Greetings, everyone. I'm Beyondr. As you've heard, I'm a design engineer at the Privacy and Scaling Explorations team, part of the Ethereum Foundation. And I'm here to talk to you today about cryptographic UX, or cryptography and user experience. Thankfully, my talk is after Laura's talk. She did a bit of lifting for me, because some of the sentiments that she said in her talk, I will echo some of that, as it pertains to trust and where user experience and cryptography come together to drive adoption. So let's go. So cryptographic tools obviously play a role in securing our digital communications and transactions. However, their effectiveness is greatly dependent on the user interface and the experience. A poorly designed UI UX can lead to user errors, reduce security, and ultimately hinder adoption. So an overview of cryptography. This is supposed to be a very accessible talk, so just bear with me for the super tech people. Cryptography involves techniques for secure communication in the presence of adversaries. So we're having a conversation, we don't want the bad people to know what we're saying or what we're talking about. The key concepts include the encryption, decryption, symmetric and asymmetric algorithms, and digital signatures. So example, I'm pretty sure everyone would have probably used a credit card or a card before, and that stuff gets packaged up real nicely and sent elsewhere, but while it's being transmitted, we send it in such a way that if someone were to try to snoop on it, it would be very difficult to tell what it is. And the overview of user experience design. This is a people-centered approach for creating products. Key concepts include user research, visual design, prototyping, information architecture, content strategy, and more. A good example of a user researcher is Laura, the person who just gave a talk. She was talking about all the research she did to come to these conclusions that can be very useful for persons who are building tools on top of cryptography or even cryptographic primitives to understand what users need and then pivot their tools to fix that. So there are two ways to do it. There's one, to figure out the cryptography first, or to figure out what the users want and then pitch to that. It should be noted, obviously, that not all user researchers or user experience designers are visual designers. It's often a common misconception. So there are people who are fully focused on the research, and then they can also be people who are fully focused on the visual aspect of things. However, sometimes, or in most cases, there's often just a user person, a design person of one. So they tend to have multiple hats, but this can be split up. So let's get to it. Security and usability have been considered to be at odds with each other by many researchers who held the view that improving one affects the other in a negative way. And that's fair. If you've ever used any product or been involved in the development of any product that uses security, oftentimes the security team, the developers, are at odds at some point with the user research team or the designers and what they want. And the reason is because of the difference in attributes that these two fields have. So for user research, we're trying to make things simple as possible. We're aiming for everybody to be able to understand our product and use it effectively. However, for security concerns, we need the complexity. So as you've been I was here for the MPC talk. You know, there's a lot of complexity in it that happens. The paradigms are different. For user experience, it's visibility. We're trying to sunshine, or we're trying to make the user aware of everything that's going on. We're trying to give them feedback when they have when something wrong happens, give them feedback when something good happens, and explain what's going on so they can make the proper choices. For security, it's about obscurity. We're trying to conceal how the mechanisms of these things work, so that the adversaries don't get the advantage. For user experience, we have efficiency. We're trying to get you from 0 to 1 in as fast as possible. So the best steps is immediately clicking on something and having it happen, having it act like magic. However, for security purposes, we need a defensive mindset, which means, is the right person actually accessing this information? And to do that, you have stuff like what you see on the screen. CAPTCHAs, figuring out whether you're actually human and not a bot trying to interface with our application. And so that ends up putting barriers in between. Because now, before you've put something in your Amazon checking cart, in your Amazon cart to check out, you're doing a bunch of checks now to prove whether you're human or all that sort of stuff. And that ends up hindering the efficiency that user experience professionals tend to go for. So let's talk about some mistakes that happen when user experience and security are not in balance. Just a quick question, what are anyone's pet peeves about UIs? Some UIs you've seen or some UI trends that you've seen that are pet. I see one hand down there. Yes, sir.
Just getting in the way of my flow, hopping on logo or doing stuff that I don't actually want, like yanking my focus. Like, that's the worst thing for me.
Okay, so that was yanking his focus, which means removing, he was trying to do something and there's a modal pop-up and it interrupts his workflow. You relate to that? Yes. One more? Too many clicks.
If something like altering the state of the form input fields.
Oh, okay, yeah, altering the state of the input fields without you doing anything. Yeah. That,
Too many options, too many buttons to click, too many things to look at.
yeah, a paradox of choice. Too many things to do. And all right, great, awesome, thank you. Within the field of cybersecurity, there are three main objectives that are vital for a system to be secure: confidentiality, availability, and integrity. Confidentiality, for your eyes only. Only the persons who are authorized to see this can see it. Availability, the persons who are authorized to see it can consistently have access to the data they're supposed to see. And integrity, only the people who are authorized to update certain information can update that information. So here are just a few things that are the most common that I've personally experienced and that usually interrupt the flow. Using ambiguous or confusing language. This is common. In this tweet here, this person is trying to make an order, but unchecking no lettuce removes lettuce, or checking no lettuce means lettuce. It's very confusing. So, as you can imagine, this would cause a security error if you're using something as already technically challenging as the blockchain, where your money is involved. Handling or preventing errors poorly. The best error is no error. But if you do have errors, it's important to be specific about what just happened and then tell the user how to fix it. This often doesn't happen, and you get generic responses like, something happened, good luck. Giving inconsistent or complex design. This is a famous example. This is Steam. I don't know if anybody plays PC games, but Steam is notorious for having a variety of different buttons for many things and drop-down menus, and it can get really confusing. And this is not something we want to adopt for our purposes here in Web3. It's not a good idea. So let's see some examples of what this could look like, right? This purposely doesn't have any screenshots because I'm not going to start a war. So, for example, a phishing site designed to look like a popular wallet app could trick users into entering their private keys. A decentralized exchange that doesn't have clear error messages could lead users to make trades they don't really want to make. A smart contract interface that is difficult to understand could lead users to execute transactions that they do not fully understand the risks of. And a wallet app that is slow and unresponsive could frustrate users and make them more likely to make mistakes. But ultimately, more crucially, it dampens their trust in the technology that we're trying to use to help them. We want people to adopt this blockchain technology and use Web3 in their daily lives, but if they cannot trust it to be reliable, then they won't use it. If it's not simple, they won't use it. They'll just probably stick to Venmo. So, intuitive design is crucial for cryptographic tools to ensure users can navigate and utilize their features. So, let's talk about what the great balance would look like. The balance between user experience and security. These are 4 tenets based on research that are useful in examining whether or not there's a balance between user experience and security. For simplicity, we want things that are simple and easy to use. Don't make me think. That's what we should aim for. Clarity, clear instructions and documentation that are easy to understand, and this is supported by Lara's research. And security, having strong security features to protect users' funds and data, and accessibility, being accessible to all users of all languages, physical ability, and skill levels. So now the slides after this will give us basically a checklist or tips that you can use to either examine a user interface and experience to figure out whether or not it has a balance, or if you are a UX researcher or designer, you can probably take away some of these tips to use in your work. Not all of them, and there will be compromises, because as I said before, there are compromises made when you're doing user experience with security because of the needs of each. So, simplicity tools. These are, for example, easy stepping. Simplify tasks with fewer steps. Friendly navigation, creating clear, easy to follow navigation paths. A simple data display, breaking down complex information into easy visuals like charts. Having a consistent look, which means keeping design elements uniform for easy recognition. And familiar elements, which means taking items that are common on the user experience for other applications and applying it to your own will create a sense of familiarity. I know that button, that looks like a button. But if you make a button that looks weird, it's harder for people to grasp what it is, and they might end up doing bad things. Clarity tools. Having clear guidance. Use straightforward language for instructions and labels. Having helpful documentation. Offering clear, easy to understand guides. Having an organized design. Arrange content for quick scanning. We know this. We're not sitting down to read the articles. We scan them to figure out the keywords that are in there. And we're like, oh, this paragraph is what I'm kind of looking for. So remember that. Your own behavior can dictate the behavior of others. Or it can imply the behavior of others. Consistent look, keeping designs uniform for easy recognition, and plain language. Use simple, jargon-free language. And if you do have to use jargon, which are like cryptographic terms or higher level things that people might require a bit more knowledge to know about, it's your duty to express them and explain what they are. And security tools, finally. User-first security. Learn how users interact with security. Tailor-made security. You can tailor security to fit different needs of different users. Maybe advanced users have different security needs than regular users. And it's your job as somebody who is creating a product where people could potentially lose a lot of money to ensure that you have these safeguards for them. Sensible defaults, combine secure defaults with helpful tips, and having easy guidance, which is providing easy to follow security guidance, and visual security prompts, which is using visuals to guide those security options, leading them through the flow. Finally, we have accessibility tools, which are supporting multiple languages, having a universal design, which means it works on mobile, it works on your desktop, and it works on your tablet, whatever device the user might be using. Disability-friendly language, which is including keyboard and screen reader support, visual adjustment options for those who have visual impairment, and having tech terms made easy, which is explaining the technical jargon. All right, so finally, for our tools to be secure, there has to be a balance between usability and security, even though their goals might appear contradictory at first. And the reason why we need this is because we need to have trust in this trustless system that we're trying to promote. In conclusion, user perception of trust and security heavily relies on the UI UX. By incorporating visual cues of security, like padlocks, progress indicators, we can instill confidence in users. Clear explanations of cryptographic processes and transparent data handling practices further strengthen trust. And UI UX has the power to enhance user confidence in cryptographic tools and promote their adoption. that's all for my talk. I'm the Beyondr. Thank you. I'm the Beyondr. You can find me on Telegram or Twitter at this handle, and that's the Discord.
Thank you very much. This was an awesome talk.